All right, let's dive in. Today we're looking at GVK Power and Infrastructure Limited.
Yeah, really interesting company.
I've got two main sources for this deep dive. Their 2023-24 annual report, and then also a notice for their 50th annual general meeting, which is coming up.
Sounds good.
So we'll kind of see what we can find out about them, what's going on, what they're doing.
Okay.
Give everyone listening, a little cheat sheet on GVK Power and Infrastructure Limited.
Okay, great.
So first up, let's talk about this 50th AGM.
Okay.
Looks like it's scheduled for December 31st, 2024.
Right.
And it's going to be fully virtual.
Makes sense.
Which I think is a smart move, honestly, if you're trying to maximize shareholder participation.
Yeah.
And they even talk about pushing e-voting, both remotely and during the meeting.
Very interesting.
So I think it really shows their focus on transparency and easy access for their shareholders.
Yeah, for sure.
Particularly those institutional investors.
Makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so now let's get into the financials.
Right.
So I noticed one thing that kind of jumps out is the swing from a consolidated profit. In 2022-23, it was over 314,000 INR lakhs.
Wow.
To a loss of over 24,000 INR lakhs the next year.
Yeah, so 2023-24.
Yeah, in 2023-24.
That's a big change.
Yeah, that's a huge shift.
That is.
And it makes me kind of wonder, what's up with this exceptional item that they have listed for 2022-23?
Right.
It was over 324,000 INR lakhs.
So essentially like a one-time thing that impacted their profit.
Yeah, it's like a one-off event, right?
Yeah.
That really skewed things that year. And they don't actually specify in the report what it is, so that's something to maybe look into.
Yeah, definitely worth investigating.
Now let's talk about leadership.
Okay.
The board of directors is led by Dr. GVK Reddy. He's the chairman.
Right.
And he's actually a Padma Bhushan awardee.
Oh, wow.
Which is a pretty big deal. It's one of India's highest civilian honors.
Yeah, so that shows he's made some serious contributions. Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever he's focused on.
Now, besides Dr. Reddy, there are other directors, obviously.
Of course.
And the company has various committees, like you see in a lot of big companies. Like there's the audit committee and the nomination and remuneration committee.
Right.
All to help ensure good corporate governance.
Yeah, standards.
They also have a whistleblower policy.
Okay.
Which I think is great. Shows they're really emphasizing ethical conduct.
Yeah, for sure. Building that trust.
And they even specifically say that any director cannot be someone who's been debarred or disqualified by, the big authorities like SEBI or the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So it's like they're really, checking all the boxes when it comes to building trust and confidence.
Absolutely. That transparency is important.
All right, so let's move on to what they actually do, their operational segments.
Okay, sounds good.
They've got power, transportation, and then this category they just label others.
With Empower, their main source of revenue is the Alaknanda Hydropower Company Limited.
Ooh.
It's a 330 milliW hydropower project.
So hydroelectric.
Yeah, hydroelectric.
Got it.
And it looks like that generated over 11 billion INR.
Wow. So that's doing pretty well.
Yeah, that one's doing well. But it seems like their other power ventures haven't been as successful.
Oh, okay.
The report talks about several challenges, and some projects even facing insolvency or liquidation.
So some struggles there.
Yeah, for sure.
That's interesting.
For example, GVK Gotami Power Limited.
Okay.
That was taken over by a resolution professional late 2023 under insolvency proceedings.
So not great.
Another one, GVK Power, Goindwal Sahib Limited.
Right.
They had a resolution plan approved late 2023 by the Punjab State Power Corporation Limited.
So it seems like they're dealing with a lot in the power sector.
Yeah, for sure.
Some wins, some, well, not wins.
Yeah, definitely a mixed bag.
So we've got this successful project, but then, some question marks over these others.
Exactly. So now let's kind of shift gears and look at their overall financial health.
Right.
And, what the future might hold for them.
Yeah, especially given how tough it is for infrastructure companies in India.
Exactly.
The report even mentions that specifically.
Yeah, and they point to financial distress, specifically related to the Alaknanda Hydropower Company Limited.
It's a successful one.
Yeah, but apparently they have a settlement agreement with lenders.
Okay.
But the report highlights potential risks if those terms aren't met.
Oh, so there's still some uncertainty there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
And then on top of that, they've got some legal challenges going on.
Oh, really?
Like a water tax dispute in Uttarakhand.
Okay.
And an appeal against a tariff determination.
So things are getting complex.
Ah.
That's where it gets interesting, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Got to look beyond just the surface.
You know, I was looking at, like, the share price, and there's this sharp increase starting around May 2023.
So, like, halfway through the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's related to this Uttarakhand water tax issue.
That's a great point.
It seems like back in July 2022, the Uttarakhand High Court directed AHPCL to start paying the water tax.
Even though they're challenging it.
Yeah, even while they were challenging it.
Interesting.
So maybe investors saw that court decision as, like, a positive sign.
Yeah, maybe they thought, okay, at least things are moving forward.
Right, less uncertainty.
Right, even though it wasn't necessarily a win for the company.
Exactly.
It's like, all right, we know what's happening now.
Yeah.
Less ambiguity.
Less risk of, like, some big surprise later on.
Right, exactly. And that could really influence how investors feel.
Absolutely.
It's a great example of how things that seem unrelated can actually have a big impact.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
On how investors see the company and then on the market.
It reminds us to really connect the dots, you know?
Totally.
Look for those links between different pieces of information.
Yeah, it's all connected.
All right, so let's talk ownership now.
Okay.
The promoters, they hold a big chunk, over 54%.
Okay. Significant stake.
Yeah, and within that, GVK Reddy and Sanjay Reddy, they have direct stakes.
Right, so they're really invested in making this work.
Yeah, literally.
Literally and figuratively.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another interesting detail I noticed,
Yeah.
over 99.87% of their outstanding shares are dematerialized.
So like digital stock certificates.
Yeah, exactly.
Huh, interesting.
So it seems like they're pretty modern in their approach to investor relations.
Makes sense.
And operational efficiency.
Yeah, definitely.
But speaking of efficiency, I was kind of surprised.
Oh, wow.
They only have about 190 employees.
Really? That seems small.
Yeah, for a company with such large-scale operations, it seems really small.
That's true.
I wonder how they manage.
I'm curious too, maybe they outsource some things.
Maybe, or they've got some really efficient systems.
Yeah, or their employees are just super talented and work across different areas.
Yeah, maybe they wear a lot of hats.
It definitely raises questions about how they handle everything, especially with all the challenges we've been talking about.
Yeah, good point.
So we've got this company in a vital sector
Right.
facing some headwinds,
Yeah,
but also signs of strength and innovation.
for sure.
It's going to be interesting to see how they navigate it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots to unpack here.
For sure, and I'm ready to dive deeper.
Me too. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's unpack some of those financial challenges.
Okay.
Especially with AHPCL, their like key asset.
Yeah,
The report mentions a settlement they reached with lenders,
right.
but also all the potential risks.
Yeah, and it's not just like theoretical risks.
Right.
We're talking about an ongoing water tax dispute
Uh-huh.
and an appeal against the tariff determination.
Exactly. So it's a lot to juggle for them.
For sure.
And, you know, speaking of complex things, there's this mention of a pari passu charge in the report.
Oh, yeah. What's that about?
It relates to their subsidiary, GVK DKEPL, which is working on a highway project.
Right.
I have to admit, I'm not totally sure what pari passu means here. It sounds kind of intimidating, honestly.
Yeah, a little bit.
So basically, think of it like this.
Okay.
You've got all these lenders lined up,
Uh-huh.
and they all have an equal claim to the project's revenue.
Oh, so it's like they're all on the same level.
Yeah, exactly. That's what pari passu means.
Okay, so if DKEPL runs into trouble, the lenders are in a good position to get their money back.
Right. It's a way to protect their investments.
That makes sense, especially with these big infrastructure projects.
Yeah, lots of risk involved.
So it's not just about the parent company's financials.
Right.
You got to look at the subsidiaries too.
Exactly. Each one might have its own,
Its own set of risks and opportunities.
Exactly. It's all a bit tangled.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not just investors who are affected by all this.
Right, right.
Remember, the report talked about how tough it is for infrastructure companies in India right now.
Yeah, they said it's a challenging environment.
So what GVK does, how they handle these challenges, it has implications for the whole Indian economy.
It's like they're under a microscope.
Yeah, big pressure.
So we've got the financial stuff and then the legal hurdles. But they're also trying to navigate the whole environmental landscape. We talked about that clean development mechanism thing.
Right, with the carbon credits.
But it seems like there's more to it.
Yeah, the report mentions 3 of their group companies
Okay.
that are registered with the UNFCCC,
What's that stand for again?
the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change.
Okay, so pretty important.
Yeah, it makes their projects eligible for those carbon credits.
Right, right.
Those companies are GVK Industries, Limited Phase 2, GVK Gotami Power Limited, and Alaknanda Hydropower Company Limited.
Wait, didn't GVK Gotami Power Limited get taken over?
You're right, it did.
By that Resolution Professional?
Yes, so now it's unclear what happens to that project.
And to those carbon credits.
Exactly. It raises questions about how GVK is, accounting for all this.
Like, are they factoring in potential losses of credits?
Right, because of project's failures.
And how does this fit into their whole sustainability strategy?
Those are good questions, and the report doesn't really address them.
It's another layer of complexity.
Yeah, if you're trying to assess their commitment to, being environmentally responsible.
Okay, so we've got the environmental stuff. Now let's get back to that exceptional item for a second. The one that boosted their profit back in 2022-23.
Right, that big one-time thing.
The report mentions a scheme of amalgamation back in 2007.
Okay.
Which sounds like a merger.
Yeah, probably.
Could that be where the exceptional item came from?
It's possible. Maybe the merger resulted in some kind of one-time gain.
Like selling off assets or something.
Right, and that could have been recorded as an exceptional item.
But without more details, who knows?
It's a bit of a mystery.
Oh.
But it shows how past events can have a big impact even years later.
Totally agree.
I keep thinking about that detail about their workforce.
Oh, yeah, the optimal utilization thing.
Yeah, with the multitasking, it's interesting.
It makes sense why they have such a small team.
Right, especially for all the projects they're managing.
But it also makes me wonder if it's enough.
Yeah. Could it be too much pressure on the employees?
Right, and could that lead to mistakes or burnout?
It's a balancing act for sure.
So back to the big question, how is GVK going to handle all of this?
All these challenges.
And still contribute to India's infrastructure goals?
Right, it's a lot to ask.
They're in these crucial sectors.
Power, transportation.
But they're also dealing with all this financial uncertainty.
Legal battles too.
And potential environmental concerns.
It's a complicated situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really shows just how much is at stake for them.
Yeah, I think.
They're trying to grow, but also be sustainable,
Uh-huh.
be efficient, but also resilient.
Right, it's like walking a tightrope.
And they've got all these external pressures and internal complexities.
Yeah, it makes their commitment to transparency even more important.
Exactly.
The virtual AGM, with the focus on e-voting, it could be a way to address those concerns.
Yeah, build some confidence with their investors.
Exactly.
Speaking of investors, that share price surge we talked about.
Right, the one that might be linked to the Uttarakhand court decision.
Yeah, it's fascinating, right?
Definitely.
Maybe investors are looking past those immediate challenges.
Yeah, maybe they see the long-term potential.
It's like they're saying, okay, at least we know what's happening now.
Right, less uncertainty.
Fewer surprises down the road.
And that can really impact market sentiment.
Big time.
It also shows how important it is to look at the legal and regulatory stuff.
Yeah, not just the financials.
Exactly.
So we've covered a lot.
We have.
Financials, operations, legal battles, environmental initiatives.
Even investor psychology.
What stands out to you as the most important takeaway?
I think it's how GVK's internal strategies interact with everything that's going on around them. They're making choices about their workforce, their finances, their environmental impact, but they're doing it within this context of,
regulations, legal challenges, market volatility.
Right, and understanding that dynamic is key.
If you want to evaluate their future,
Exactly.
It's not enough to just look at the numbers in isolation.
You got to see the bigger picture,
The forces at play.
the choices they're making.
And the potential consequences.
Absolutely.
And this deep dive, it's given everyone listening the tools to do just that.
They've got the AGM notice, the annual report.
And a framework for understanding how complex this all is.
Right. GVK's operations, the environment they're working in.
They can connect the dots, ask the tough questions.
Draw their own conclusions.
About GVK's ability to,
To overcome these challenges.
and contribute to India's infrastructure goals.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up,
Yep.
we encourage everyone to keep exploring,
Dig deeper.
challenge the assumptions.
And come to your own assessment of GVK Power and Infrastructure Limited.
Because this is just the beginning.
The start of your journey into their world
And the most insightful discoveries
are often the ones you make yourself.